So I've just tested the water in here. The GH is 13, so that's on the high side, so it's probably better not to add any more GH salts at the moment. The KH was about 3 or 4, so that's okay. It could be a little bit higher, but I'm very happy with 3 or 4. pH is alkaline, so that's pretty normal. There's basically no ammonia or nitrite, and the nitrate is very low. So the water quality in this tank is actually very high. Now there's not too many fish in here, but there's no surface agitation. So one thing we would want to do before we're getting new fish is we want to try and make sure that the surface is getting broken a little bit more to raise the oxygen. Now one of the most important things about fish is to understand if they're skinny or fat. So this guy here is doing very well, but he's probably just a tad on the skinny side. And then we've got some zebra danios bouncing around the top, and they're doing very nicely. Now the fish too are getting fed on this food, Danichi. Now this is a very high quality food, but maybe we could think about adding some larger pellets, because this little fish are doing really well, and that's a micro pellet. So it might be a good idea for us to get some larger pellets for the larger fish. Because if you notice the larger fish skinny, then sometimes it can just be the pellet size. So this tank is looking fine. I've just cleaned it, so it looks a bit murky. Now I've given the filters a clean in water from the fish tank. I've made sure that there's very good surface agitation, so there's plenty of oxygen in the water. I've changed about a quarter of the water and done a gravel clean. And we've also put some of the decorations outside, because over time your decorations start to look a bit yucky. So it's a good idea to put them out in the sun for a day and let the algae dry up in the sun, and then flip it over and let it have another day. Now the other thing too I'll point out too is that these zebra danios have been here for quite a while now. How old do you reckon these zebra danios are?
Oh my goodness gracious, I've had them for years.
Yeah, so the other thing just to be aware of is that we just had a conversation about the snails. So there was some snails in here, and there's one right there, but I'm not sure if it's alive. There's one right there, and that one is alive.
Yeah, that one's alive, but
That's alive.
one I think that's alive.
Yeah, so there's one there that I'm not sure if that one's alive, and there's one over there, and I'm not sure if that's alive. But snails living a couple of years is probably a good life for a snail, so you just can't expect them to live forever. And then these zebra danios are starting to look on the old side. So sort of 2 to 4 years is a pretty normal life for a little fish. So if you do lose some of these fellas, don't be too surprised, because they've had a very good go. Because unfortunately, little fish don't live forever. It's like trying to keep a pet butterfly. You know, different animals don't live forever. Now, a goldfish in a decent sized aquarium, sort of 4 to 7 years is pretty normal. You do hear stories of more. And then these little fellas here, more like 2 to 4 years is a bit of a normal story. So you do have to be a little bit realistic with your animals. So adding some extra snails and maybe adding some extra fish like some mountain cloud minnows would be a good idea. The other thing that you could try would be something like a fighting fish. A fighting fish would, or a betta would be very varied in its success. I've put bettas into tanks like this in nice, cozy, warm houses that are not too cold, and they've done very well, but sometimes they get grumpy, so we're opting not to do that. So all in all, this tank is testing well. The fish are all good. They've been around for a long time, and we are thinking about chucking some extras in, and I think some larger pellet would be the answer, because these little fellas are on the fat side and the big fella is on the skinny side. So that's where we're at today with this tank. It's like a cross between a lantern and a watering can.